A low hum filled the air, a sort of musical vibration that resonated across the gleaming walls of the Intergalactic Embassy of Olthar. The ceiling was domed, shimmering as if embedded with stars, a mockery to the honest darkness of space beyond. Long tables lined with rich, iridescent fabrics housed a variety of alien diplomats, each conversing in lilting tones, their gestures fluid and graceful. In stark contrast, Ethan McGowan, Earth's sole ambassador of humanity, lounged in the epicenter of this eclectic convergence, his wider-than-usual smile a beacon among the shimmering shades of green and blue. "It's a delight when you come back," Ethan Z. Core, a wizened Oltharian diplomat shaped like a standing fern, extended a spindly limb in greeting. "I trust Earth's espresso is still the most exquisite form of cuisine." Ethan chuckled, retrieving a battered thermos from his satchel and unscrewing the lid as a low whisper of steam wafted into the air. "Oh, you have no idea. But this isn't espresso, it's a little something called coffee. The strongest poison you'll ever drink." The collective gasp from those gathered brought a pause to the cordial exchanges. Z-Core's appendages twisted in alarm. "Poison. Why would you partake in such a thing? Are you unwell? Did you consume it voluntarily?" "Relax," Ethan waved them off with a chuckle, sloshing the dark liquid lightly. "It's a human delicacy. Not toxic, I promise. At least not to me." This only deepened the concern etched on the faces of the gathered aliens, their colors dimming slightly as they exchanged glances. Defrak, an imposing figure sculpted from volcanic rock with stormy eyes, leaned in closer, eyeing the thermos warily. "Might I inquire what your species benefits from such a toxin?" Ethan smirked, savoring the petrified caution amidst their vibrant hues. "It wakes me up. Mental clarity, focus, almost as essential as oxygen on Earth." "But it is dangerous," Z-Core insisted, his voice quaking. "The effects could be unpredictable. Trust me, I've had my fair share back on Earth. I can handle it." He took a bracing sip, closing his eyes as rich bitterness flowed over his tongue. Momentarily, the council chamber melted away into the clamor of the bustling cafes back home, a daylight refuge of roasted beans, foamy toppings, clinking cups. He added a touch of dark humor. "If anything, the only poison I worry about is your city's somber fruit juice. Now that's lethal." A ripple of confusion swept through the audience. This time, they dared to lean closer, intrigued and apprehensive, their antennae twitching. "Your humor is rather unique," Human Defrak murmured, his rocky texture rumbling in a manner that Ethan hoped was a chuckle of sorts. "But you should not jest about your life. Did your planet not face extinction threats over such indulgences?" Ethan wiped his mouth, perceptiveness flashing in his eyes. "You mean the coffee? Oh, it might help spread chaos, but not like the threats of our own kind. Sometimes we create our worst poisons ourselves." He glanced around, scanning the frightened faces. "I know some of you worry about it, but trust me, I'm not keeling over anytime soon." Yet the aliens remained unmoved. They seemed to huddle together, exchanging worried expressions that reminded him of the time he had taken a group of children on a field trip. The fear was eerily familiar. It was the same expression when the kids spotted a snake on the hiking trail. Perhaps we should test its effects," Z-Core proposed solemnly, a hint of eagerness lacing his voice like a vine tightening around a bark. "Test," Ethan stammered, his amusement faltering. "You can't be serious." "Indeed we are," Defrak thundered, a demonstration of strength and survival. "We must know if your poison creates reasoning or insanity. The survival of an entire species may rely on your drinks." The weight of their eyes pressed down, a symphonic hum of anticipation swelling, as if the embassy walls themselves were alive. A subtle thrill raced through him, that familiar mischievous edge he felt when tuning a guitar string before a live performance. It was ridiculous, he knew that much. Yet, standing at the edge of absurdity and humor, Ethan lifted his thermos, meeting their dubious gazes with exaggerated flair. "All right then, what's the worst that can happen?" And so, in a world where he had little power other than the weight of his bizarre human habits, he took a longer swig from his precious brew. The bitter liquid slid down, cast in shadows, swallowing a deeply entrenched sense of mischief that sipped furtively within him. A cacophony arose alongside him, questions darting through thin, curling vibrations, as he had unwittingly become the center of their intrigue, just another player in a cosmic drama driven by misunderstanding. The alien's panic bespoke a deeper curiosity, one that echoed humanity's endless adaptability in the face of the unknown. Coffee might not be the cure for universal chaos, But for now, it was an invitation into the most absurd of crossroads, one where a human could turn a misunderstanding into a majesty all its own. The tension in the chamber thickened as Ethan set his thermos down, sensing that he had unwittingly stepped into an alien experiment that sent ripples of unease echoing through the diverse assembly. From across the table, Z-Core twitched his leafy limbs, a telltale sign of his nervousness, a trait that Ethan recognized was akin to his own fidgeting back home. "What do you propose?" then he asked, needing to offset the growing anxiety. An idea was already brewing in the back of his mind, a result of the quickening energy circulating between the assemblage of diplomats. Perhaps a taste test. He was met with a chorus of confused chirps and fluttering appendages. "I mean, each of you could try a small amount. A sip, if you will. We can see how it affects us in real time." A moment of deliberation danced in the air, their vibrational languages filled with speculation and hesitance. Defrac's massive rocky form creaked forward, and after what felt like an eternity, he finally nodded. "Very well, but we must proceed with caution. Our kind works differently. There are no guarantees that your beverage will elevate communication or bring forth chaos." Ethan chuckled, though he felt a ripple of uncertainty. Best not to expect too much, then. With that, the Oltharians, willing participants in Ethan's harebrained scheme, each extended their limbs toward the center table. A shiver raced through Ethan as he watched their curious, multicolored fingers curl around the thermos's lip, searching for an unpredictable taste behind the strange concoction of human culture. He realized he had unwittingly turned this humorous challenge into an opportunity, leveraging a cultural exchange that could redefine Earth's relationship with the galaxy. As Z-Core took the first tentative sip, the air went still. His gnarled face morphed from trepidation to what appeared to be surprised bemusement, forcing a stifled laugh from Ethan. Well, he leaned forward, eyes wide. "It is." Different, Z-Core replied, his voice quaking slightly. "It is bitter yet sweet. Like the sensation of being caught in a sunbeam before the rain." "How? Curious." The other diplomats hesitated only briefly before following suit, sharing glances and resounding clicks of approval. Yet, as each of them tasted the coffee, a desperate impulse to communicate invigorated the room. Conversations began to flow like a river through the vibrant sphere, blending their arc of unique dialects in an urgent frenzy. Ethan felt a part of something larger and utterly foreign, fragile bonds sewn in real time. As they laughed and debated, dismissing table's etiquette, tension transformed into curiosity and infectious energy that rippled through the chamber. For the first time, they began to ask about humanity's crafts, earthly wonders, and its people beyond these diplomatic walls. They were drawn in by Ethan's stories, the inventive ways humans forged paths through past crises despite their flaws. This is rather exhilarating," Z-Core burbled, clapping his limbs together. "You see, Defrac? This is the real promise of cultural connection, one that transcends our proclivities. Your worries only bred discord." Ethan couldn't help but beam as he watched the diplomatic walls dissolve in real time. He felt himself growing, rekindling an old fire within that he feared had been extinguished in the sterile offices of Earth governance. He began to thread stories of Earth's resilience, failures, and triumphs into their vibrant dialogue, feeding their growing eagerness. But beneath the surface of this joviality, Ethan observed that not all were enthusiastic. Defrac, who had been initially skeptical, watched with a deepening frown as complications set in. As the last sip of coffee went around the table, energies collided as if they were scraping through the atmosphere of a long-established misunderstanding that had seeped into the alliance. From the back of the chamber, a seething tide of energy brewed. An unsettling static resonated, focusing in the form of Rivka, a lesser-known diplomat from the Zilaks, notorious for her fierce dedication to her homeworld's autonomy. The Zilaks were a calculating species, wanting no invader in their midst, yet Rivka always seemed at the periphery of any diplomatic cause for humanity. With the glassy sheen of otherworldly beauty, she stood out, her yellow irises flickered, revealing both fervor and anger. "What does it matter?" she interjected sharply. "This frivolous exercise of sharing a drink? You human delegates parley as if there are no seeds of distrust buried within our ranks. You sit as arbiters of chaos while our agreements lie flayed." Ethan felt a chill, a crack threading through the camaraderie they had forged. "I didn't mean to." "You tread light upon uneven grounds," Rivka warned, her melodic voice icy. "Is it not well known how one misstep could mean a rupture as easily as a conversation can be had?" Defrac raised his rocky hands, impervious to the shrinking warmth. "It was never ignored. We seek to understand, Rivka, not to proliferate discord." Humanity remains capable of unity. Unity, she scoffed, eyes narrowing. Unity cannot supersede autonomy. We've seen the ravages of alliances that evolve into dominions. Do you not think this coffee will forge sovereignty? One drink, one voice, and in your wake a civilization lays conquered. The room swelled with unease, subverting the fragile understanding they had begun to build. It became a tense tableau of tense stares and untrusting murmurs. It seemed Ethan's attempt to create cohesion had instead ignited a deeper divide, a cultural rift that rose sharply from centuries of miscommunication, of proud peoples threatened. Feeling the shock course through the chamber, Ethan understood then that despite the brewing bond, something fundamental hung in the balance. How humanity would integrate into this already fraught weave of galactic politics was unclear. Standing amidst this tension, he had to make a choice: would he sacrifice the gathering's flow, or dive deeper into discussion, offering humanity's story of vulnerability to illuminate their own obscurities? This drink may or may not change our fates, Rivka. Ethan spoke, his voice resolute. But you fear I've set precedents I have yet to see bear fruit. What we create should emerge from trust, not coffee, not drink. It must be these conversations, these exchanges, where we share power to define our paths. His words encompassed a vulnerability, an olive branch laced with trepidation, emphasizing the need for understanding over misgiving. He welcomed the silence, ready to repaint the narrative with their collective stories, highlighting strengths and weaknesses intertwined within the web, emphasizing how resistance could lead to failure, and communication could guide them all forward. Z-Cor's limbs quivered, vibrating in resonance. Perhaps we've come to an inflection point. Rivka, you are fueled by rightful concern. But we strengthen our threads merely by gathering under one roof. In this moment, we can lean into better outcomes for all species. We can strive for better outcomes. Ethan observed Rivka's expression soften, the flame inside her fizzling but still kindling. If we bring frailty to the dance, I will consider this dialogue a step toward something more, she said, earnestness shifting within her voice. But no, trust cannot be built over a beverage alone. Within this evolving honesty, Ethan felt the path ahead grow dimmer yet clearer, a multifaceted lens exchanging richness found within one simple cup. He vowed to embrace this challenge, to turn vulnerabilities into windows for understanding, how humanity repeatedly survived by uplifting each other. As tentative agreement rippled through the assembly, Ethan knew that cultural misunderstandings surfaced like tides during a storm. Yet through every ebb and flow, they carried their own gems waiting to be discovered in next breaths, unearthing the truth that unity laid as much in their differences as in shared stories. And together, they continued to weave through the complexities of this intergalactic tale, while everything else hung in the balance. Ethan stood at the brink of an expertly woven tapestry of nations and cultures, a barrage of expectation looming heavy. Rivka's passionate rant echoed in the chamber, but beyond the undercurrent of tensions, he felt an unwavering thread of possibility hooking their every word together. It was time to embrace the vulnerabilities shared and guide their fragile diplomacy to a clearer horizon. The warmth of laughter and the tentative spark of camaraderie hung still in the air. But it was clear that the initial shock of the decision to taste coffee was still surfacing. With a resolute heart, he turned to the gathered assembly. What if we do not speak only and drink? Let's share stories of our planets, our peoples. Stories help us understand our depths far beyond ceremonial sips and surface obligations. Z-Cor moved closer, pressing his leafy limbs toward Ethan, curiosity glowing within his scintillating colors. Stories do unite. They are connective fibers that hold cultures. What should we tell of our origins? Ethan nodded, encouraged. Start with your home. Tell us how it shaped you, the glories and challenges, how you interact with your peers, your triumphs. In that resonant urgency, Rivka's eyes brightened, attention shifting, buoyantly rising from her defensive posture. Very well, if we are to expose ourselves, then I will begin. I was born on Zilax, amidst the swirling hues of our oceans, where bioluminescence paints the skies. But survival is a dance there, a challenge to navigate. Resources are scarce. Our people have established strict societal channels to ration precious elements. We must balance individual needs against our collective survival. The tensions that had previously veiled her expression unraveled into something lighter, softer, a flicker of sharing humanity amid the gesturing vibrancy of the assembly. Rivka's willingness broke the dam, and soon the room buzzed with phrases spun from their anatomical stories. As each alien being nodded toward one another, Ethan interwove his own tale with theirs. On Earth, the landscape is diverse and tumultuous, filled with both beauty and conflict. Our history is tainted with wars that emerged from misunderstanding, decades lost to discord over ideology alone. But amid those quarrels, we learned how vital communication is. It bends past differences. Ethan gestured, drawing their eyes closer. He elaborated on humanity's resilience through disaster, their propensity to innovate and adapt for survival. Every challenge gave rise to new methods, technology, connection, creativity. For instance, when faced with famine, we harnessed the ingenuity of agriculture to sustain ourselves. Frack rumbled, intense with curiosity. And yet you drink this coffee to rally your people in gatherings, even if it risks mischief. Is your kind truly so reckless? With a sly smile, Ethan responded, when you think of coffee, think of community. It's a shared experience. We gather, debate, and laugh over a cup. But beware, the caffeine can make some a little wild. However, it connects us to tell stories, to ignite understanding. Tentative laughter bubbled, echoing into the walls of the chamber. Understanding had begun to sprout through the uncertain roots of conversation. An energetic undertow of connection coursed through them, all the vibrant energies of various species converging, fueled by words rather than fear. Sensing a shift, Z-Core leaned forward, a twinkle in his eyes. Perhaps we should tell our most significant failure what drove us to harmony. This could teach us all. A ripple of excitement sparked as they took turns recounting stories of conflict and resolution, how their cultures navigated misunderstandings. What emerged was a profound connection born from shared struggles, tales of regret and laughter blended together, serving lessons about forging ahead. Ethan felt exhilarated, watching each species lighten under the shared openness. Amid their exchange, the conversation began to shift toward tangible solutions, collaborative ideas for intergalactic cohabitation, instead of disinherited power structures that once kept them apart, poised to perpetuate a return to misunderstandings. A young diplomat from the Xelvian people, slender and elongated, announced, if we can navigate compromises through storytelling, should we not explore the merging of our technologies as well? Gazing intently into the hope that ignited within the chamber, Ethan asked, what do you suggest? The Xelvian diplomat exhaled, a shimmering mist enveloping his grasp. To build devices that could study our environments jointly. To observe how we adapt across different climates, this could unify our knowledges with shared efforts to respect each realm's essences. Around him, others nodded with excitement, throwing ideas into the ever-growing pot of creativity. We could also create seasons to exchange learning opportunities. Imagine a program where each species sends a delegate to share expertise of our medical advancements, our agricultural prowess. Rivka's enthusiasm seemed infectious. I could propose an alliance to share our environmental efforts. Perhaps we can work to restore habitats that have been damaged elsewhere or lend aid to species with nearby resources. The vision blossomed as understanding tethered their disparate paths together. Ethan could hardly contain a grin as they blossomed into full-blown ambition before his eyes, a coalition crafted not from monetary gains but of shared innovation. Embracing unique attributes, their diverse paths paved the way for unity to flourish. A fusion of cultures through knowledge, Ethan proclaimed. There's nothing more powerful than coming together, reshaping the fate of our civilizations with each unique talent. He could feel the electric pulse of determination propagating around the room. Language barriers dulled, and differences softened. The birth of a collaborative spirit resonated heavily in the air, emboldened by each individual's agency. However, Ethan couldn't help but sense a lingering unease, the need to address the fears that had arisen, the old wounds that still simmered beneath their budding friendship. He raised his voice once more, slight determination wavering as he pressed on, and we must recognize that trust needs time. It is your rightful hesitation to protect your legacy. Indeed, Rivka murmured softly, her coat aglow with understanding. Let us not forget our decades of mistrust and division. But if our voices can resonate beyond misunderstandings, I believe we're onto something. Right, Frack boomed. Our convergence must yield transparency. No hidden agenda, just unity forged through empathy. We cannot risk falling back into silence. With weary determination, the spirit of active collaboration blossomed. They crafted tangible policies and practices, exploring the halls of ideas now buzzing with excitement. Every gasp of inspiration took root as they exchanged knowledge, laying a plan that fed their evolving unity. And as they deliberated, Ethan couldn't shake the sensation that they had just taken a gamble, but one that spoke to the heart of adaptability among all life forms. If there was a lesson born of their shared struggle, it was that their individual stories forged the bridge to understanding. Little by little, they focused their ambitions toward arrival at a monumental resolution. Each suggestion built toward an agreement, a convoy of solutions intertwined in spirit. This was not merely an opportunity born from an absurd misunderstanding, it was an emergence of cooperation that would forge their interconnectivity beyond epochs to come. As they gathered for their declaration at the tale's end, a sudden applause reverberated across the chamber, crafting a chorus tinted with optimism. Energized by freshly ignited bonds, laughter rang through the air as cultures collided in a resonance never perceived before. Ethan's heart swelled, and he keenly understood the unmistakable fabric of connection born from vulnerability. Through an unexpected encounter bound by mutual curiosity and vulnerability, a tapestry of shared collaboration had bloomed in a universe yearning for fellowship. The shared stories rose as knowing echoes of acceptance, every tale woven into the fabric of commitment for the journey ahead. As hesitant beings rallied around one shared meal, the tension that had sparked their destiny transformed into purpose. In the years that followed, myriad pits of learning opened up, where humans and aliens flourished. Communication became a circle of learning, and their ingenuity bore the weight of progress, garlanded with experiences that deconstructed barriers while redefining heritage. Their formation rippled across galaxies, each nation growing through empathy. The lines of trust painted within shared histories set a course forward. What began as isolating misunderstandings erupted into breathtaking possibilities. Dystopias reshook and remade, ideas blossomed, and siblinghood intertwined. Hindered no longer by wariness, Ethan felt that humanity had truly found a home among the stars, accompanied by newfound friends eager to share the wonders of existence. As knowledge flowed freely, ideas sparked anew. Their differences became muses of invention, forever wrapping the stories of countless beings together. Igniting understanding that transcended beyond the binding depths of coffee or any drink, but instead named the risk of trust among the galaxies, a legacy sealed in unity. When they looked skyward, each new dawn began not simply amongst their species but transcended, reflecting the possibilities born of the powerful bond that sheer curiosity had ignited. And so, taking in profound breaths of enlightenment, they began their journey, a journey not of conquest but of connectivity and understanding, each thriving in unison atop shared dreams and collective purpose, a testament to the beauty that lies within communion.